You're about to listen to Tadpog. Tyler and Dave play old games. It's a comedy video game podcast. We would like to stress that the hosts are not experts and are really just very crass commentators. Seriously, this is an explicit podcast that happens to talk about video games sometimes. So please enjoy this pretty okay podcast with Tyler and Dave.
We're doing a podcast.
Hello, Internet, and welcome to a very special episode of Tadpog. This is our Saved by the Bell
I'm about to say.
drug,
Right.
90s drug special.
We're going to sit on the stoop in front of our apartment, and you're going to have a hard conversation with us about the dangers of smoking the marijuana.
Or what, Jesse couldn't, speed was too edgy, so it had to be caffeine pills
Right.
in the early days.
They should have done speed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying they should have done it, but they should have addressed that because even as
Let's address a real problem. No.
Right,
Real
no.
problems are too hard. We're going to do not really problems.
even as a kid, even as a 10-year-old, I remember being like, caffeine pills?
They have those? That sounds
That
awesome.
sounds great.
Well, today, we're bucking the randomizer. We're doing something we've talked about for a while. We can't help but talk about it in every episode. So here's a real legit episode on Hades.
Mm-hmm.
And so to further flesh out Hades and really dig deep into it, we're bringing on our foremost Hadesologist, Coco.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure. Yeah, this has been one of my favorite games in the last, maybe even the last 10 years that has come out. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, we are too. We're excited to have you on. And I want to go ahead and...
Yeah, we had you on since Cuphead.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah, over 2 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's wild because it doesn't really feel like that long.
It's more like she's really popular. It's not bug her unless it's like a really
Right.
good idea.
I would make
essentially.
all the time in the world for you too. So
That's very
don't
nice.
worry about it. I had such a good time when we talked about Cuphead, and you're right. It doesn't feel like 2 years. I guess time flies when you're an adult. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've had a whole 2-year-old since then.
Yeah. And because I am horrible, we're horrible at doing this, Tyler. You and I, Coco, we met on Twitch.
Yes.
A few years back. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that you're a streamer and knows that they can follow you on Twitch. Where can they do that?
Twitch.tv/Coco Confession. That's where you find me.
And you guys definitely should go check her out because Coco, you run a fantastic stream,
Oh,
and
thank
you got a
you.
great community.
And we met through retro, playing all the
Yep.
retro games, and which I still dabble in, every once in a while. But I've been having a good time with some roguelikes and a lot of the indie titles that have been coming out because there's been some really good games that are coming from indie developers right now. Really solid games. So I'm excited to talk about Hades because I think it was sort of a sleeper for a lot of people. But I know that Supergiant had quite a bit of a cult following with Bastion and Pyre and Transistor. But I think they just really hit the mark on Hades. So I'm really excited to talk about it. Also,
Yeah, I
I also
want them
love
to
Greek
blow up.
mythology.
Yeah.
So you're also at Coco Confession on Twitter, right?
I am. Coco Confession on all platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. And if you want to just check out the website, cococonfession.com, that has everything there too.
Awesome.
Because someone had posted in our Facebook group a retweet from you saying Sonic games are overrated.
Yeah, we want to get in front of this.
And it says
Listen.
it sparked a lively debate
Listen.
in which I
Okay, what do you have to say?
almost
What do you have to
tagged
say?
you. Almost tagged you in the conversation, but then it was like, oh, I don't want her to get blown up with Facebook friend requests. So I'm just going to leave that alone and address it the next time we have her on.
All right. So what did I say? What did I do wrong?
Just
Nothing.
nothing.
You did nothing wrong.
I agree with you that Sonic games in general are overrated.
Here's my thing is a lot of retro games in general, the appeal is the nostalgia. And I didn't have a Genesis growing up. We were a Nintendo family. So when I played the first Sonic as an adult, a couple years ago on stream, I'm like, why are people so hyped about this game? The controls on this game, they punish you for going fast. But that's how they market it.
Right.
So it was a very frustrating experience for me, but I would not let the game beat me. So I made sure that I beat it, and I beat it on stream. I'm like, I'm not playing this garbage ever again.
See, because I love the Sonic, the very first Sonic for Dreamcast. I absolutely adore that game. All other Sonics, I could fucking take or leave. Completely. Because I'm with you, it's like, go fast, it's fun, but then you're going to get fucked up, rings going everywhere. You go slow, and it plays so fucking clunkily when you're trying to platform slowly or you're underwater. Like, I'm not a Sonic guy.
I like them, but the 2D ones. But I'm not going to try to change anybody's mind because I get it. I understand the flaws in the level design is. It's designed. You're right. It's designed in a way where it's like you get punished for going fast. I mean, you absolutely do. I think a lot of the joy in it is like once you know the levels, you can go through them really fast. But it's like, yeah, as far as like just sight reading it, it can be pretty punishing for sure.
And in the second one, because my community forced me to play the second one as well, it was a charity incentive because I don't want to play them. So I put that as a charity incentive whenever I do fundraising streams. If we hit this amount, I'll play Sonic. And it's like, that's what people want. And I don't get it, but it's fine. So I played Sonic 2. And I swear, they put things in your way on purpose where they know that you won't be able to get by it without getting hit. You'll hit one of those little, I don't know what they're called, springy things. So it sends you shooting forward, and then they'll have like an enemy bust out of a wall right there. And I'm like, this is just pure dev hatred of their consumers. Okay.
You're being trolled.
It's
Cat
totally
Mario
troll.
bullshit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm like, they hate me. And this is why I hate them back. So
Have you by chance played Sonic Mania?
I did a while back. I played it on a stream it was a requested game. Didn't beat it. Didn't put too many hours into it. And
Okay.
I remember that it was okay. I mean,
Okay.
it's not like the old, it's not like the first one or the second one.
Mm-hmm. I was just curious if maybe that felt any different to you. I know it's like very reminiscent of the 90s Sonic games, but I wasn't sure if there was enough difference there to tilt the scale.
No.
Have you played the super glitchy one where Sonic has a love interest that is a human woman, totally looks normal, and they're holding hands and kissing and shit, and it looks really weird. It's terrible.
That's terrifying.
I forget what it's called.
It's kind of Jerry Seinfeld's B movie, but with Sonic instead.
So I didn't mean to upset anybody in your Facebook group. I know I come out with these really like hot controversial takes, but
Hot button issues here.
I'm talking about the real issues in retro. But no, I did trigger quite a few people, and I had some people really upset, really defending Sonic. And I'm like, you can tell me all you want about it, but I played it. I put myself through it. So you can't convince me otherwise.
And we definitely know the feeling because we have a saying here on the show where every game is somebody's favorite game because we discovered that.
No matter, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk
Fuck.
about a game that is objectively horrible, and then someone will message us and be like, this was my favorite game growing up. Fuck
Yeah.
you guys.
A random game we've never heard of. That there's no game facts for it. Wikipedia is a sentence, but yeah, somebody's like, "This is my favorite game growing up. It's the only one I had for 10 years that
Right.
my grandmother bought me."
Right.
I love it.
But that just proves that nostalgia is a driving factor on why people love games so much. I mean, there weren't many options back, in the 80s and 90s. Now there are game releases, I feel like, every day now. More back then, you would have to wait months to have a new game come out,
If you even heard about it.
Right. Because we didn't have the internet back then, and it was all through things like Nintendo Power or when you would go to the store and just see it on the shelf, So
Yep. I think I exclusively found out about every Nintendo game ever through a random kid who lived down the street, in any
Whose
direction.
uncle worked at Nintendo.
Right. Yeah. Totally got a Mario 3 years before it came out here.
All right. Well, let's talk Hades.
let's talk Hades.
Do we want to talk? Oh, wait. So Hades is an isometric roguelike set in ancient Greece. So for people who are not familiar at all. Normally we'd read from Wikipedia, but fuck it, we're just talking about the game. We're just gonna have a good time. So how did Coco? How did you get on that Hades jam?
Okay, so what was really cool, I was lucky enough to be invited to the Game Awards 2 years ago, and that was their premiere. They did a world premiere, like a trailer at the Game Awards, and the person I was with, I was like, that game looks really cool, and I love Greek mythology, and I feel like in general, entertainment doesn't really do Greek mythology well. I know like God of War games are really good, but that's more Norse mythology. And I have yet to see, a Greek mythology game or even like a show or a movie that really does it right. So I'm like, this game looks really cool.
You didn't like Troy whenever Achilles and Patroclus were just like good buddies?
Okay, can I tell you, that was Brad Pitt's like worst performance ever. I don't know why. He was just so, and like
he was just shiny.
Every facial expression just seemed so unnecessarily dramatic.
I didn't see that movie. Did he eat something in that movie? Because Brad Pitt always has a scene in a movie where he's eating a sandwich. Or
Tom Hanks had to come in and pee because that's what he does, and then
So I was really excited for it, and then when early access came out, I got word that it had come out, and so I played it on stream, and I was like, this game is amazing. I cannot wait for the full release. So played through it during early access, and then when they did the full release, which they sort of just dropped randomly one day, they didn't really announce it. And then I played it on stream for hours and hours and hours and hours, and there's just so much content to it, and just the story and the gameplay, and it's meant to be an addicting game, that's for sure. But it was just sort of I got wind of it, a couple years ago on that trailer, and then just have sort of been riding that wave of their journey ever since.
they definitely have that game loop down. Like you talking about how it's like designed to be addictive.
Yeah,
like,
let's get out of here now and say spoilers abound everywhere. I want to talk about every aspect of this game. If you haven't played it, put us on pause,
Play it.
sink in 120 hours, and then come back.
Yeah, it's not that expensive. That's another thing. It's like,
Oh, not at all.
It's not expensive.
Yeah, for how much content there is, it's definitely worth the price. And it goes on sale quite often too.
And I'm jealous that you got in on it early access, because this was like totally a thing that I really honestly didn't even know about. It wasn't on my radar until it's like, oh, this is out on Switch? Okay. And then like, So I streamed it one night, and then a couple folks like Doc, for example, was in there and was like, oh yeah, this game is awesome. And then someone else came in like, I've been playing it since early access. And it's like, damn, I wish I had, like, I shy away from early access games a lot. And maybe this game is where, like, kind of turning me around on that, where it's like, maybe I should, like, check out some more early access games, because I don't know. It, like, people who played the early access version, like, had a lot of insightful comments about, oh, they changed this, and this is how this used to be. And I don't know. It was very cool. It felt like they were in a club that I was not a part of.
They did change quite a bit, and the amount of content for early access was huge. They didn't release a small game for early access. They released something that could have been a full game. And that's kind of the problem with early access. You just don't really know what you're going to get.
Yeah, I know. Like
That's why I'm not touching Rogue Legacy 2 just yet.
I was just about to bring up Rogue Legacy 2.
I've played it for early access.
Did you enjoy it?
I loved the first one. Loved the first
Yeah,
one.
we did too.
There was not much content for early access. I think they've released more since they did. I think they released a new like biome, but I haven't gone back to it just because that's one of those games that you can't really stop and go back to. You know, you kind of have to do your whole playthrough back to back. You can't do a biome and then stop and then go back to it and expect to still be able to kill enemies like you did before. You get rusty, you know?
Yeah.
So that one was a little bit disappointing for me as far as how much they released for early access.
See, that's what So I'm making the right decision, being like, I'll just wait.
Wait until it's
I'll
done.
Wait. I love Rogue Legacy 1 so much. I'll wait until this one is done so I can just dive in head first and really enjoy the whole experience and not have to start and stop, restart, go over, blah, blah, blah.
What I can't wait for is for Final Fantasy IV, the after years, to get out of early access. Because, man, it is so rough right now. I can't wait till they finish that game, polish it. Sorry, I've been playing the after years, and it's horrible.
You don't like just being Edward with 3 anonymous soldiers lost in the desert?
Spoilers for our next episode where Miller comes back and we continue our Final Fantasy IV, the after years discussion. I was so disappointed because we were here in this room and Tyler, you said that Edward's chapter was good, and it's not.
I enjoyed it, but that was also 11 years ago.
Do you both agree on games often? Do you have the same taste in games?
I don't know. There's some overlap.
Yeah.
That Venn there's a
We've
Venn
got a pretty
diagram.
good Venn diagram, but there's some stuff that we
Like, I like racing games, typically. Tyler doesn't.
I'm a big fan of puzzle games.
Yeah, and
I'm
I'm
gonna take them or leave them.
Yeah. Tyler's more of an RPG guy than I am, but I enjoy RPGs still.
That makes for good content when you're discussing games for podcasts.
Yeah, I think sometimes it can. I think like way in the early days, I remember, I can't remember who it was, but someone was like, you guys should argue more. It's like, well, we don't really argue. That's not how our friendship typically works.
You guys should not like each other and just be embittered about spending time together.
Well, I think we all agree about Hades, it sounds like, at least.
Yeah.
And I think that like Hades does a really good job of like scratching a bunch of different itches, because this goes back to like the game loop and how it works, because it's like it feels like one of those games that kind of has a little bit of something for everybody. And it's like if you like all of those things, it's even a better experience, because it's like it does have that like isometric action element to it, like a lot of the console Diablo games have, which I'm a huge fan of that genre anyway. And then like not only that, but you've got like a story that works really well in the roguelike genre, like a genre where you're dying constantly. And a lot of roguelikes like don't address that.
Yep.
It's just kind of like, this is a game mechanic that we don't do anything with story-wise, but like Hades
Why does
takes
Super
that.
Meat Boy keep coming back so quickly? Oh,
It's just me, right? Yeah. But with Hades, it's like there is a story reason for that, and it drives the story.
Narratively, everything is so strong and covers everything that it all makes sense, and I can't really think of any plot holes, that besides, I guess they try to downplay some of the stronger incestuous elements, like
Yeah.
that Persephone is the daughter of Demeter and a random farmer, as opposed to it's like Demeter and Zeus or some shit. Like they close that loop a little bit and try to make that a little less incestuous. But that's also just, that's how Greek mythology be.
Well, the cool thing about Greek mythology too is there's so many different stories, especially with Persephone. There are some versions that say that Hades stole her and kidnapped her and took her down to the underworld. Some people say that Zeus gave her as a gift. Some people say Persephone went down willingly, and that's and I think that Hades did a really good job of kind of balancing all those different versions of all of the stories, because they talk about Sisyphus, they talk about Eurydice and their myths. And I think they did a really good job balancing and making them characters. Like the voice acting and the way that they personified these characters was just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do love, I'm glad that you brought up like the different views of the myths, because they make a point to bring up all of those, all of those things where it's like, they don't come right out and say it, but you can read between the lines. They're like, look, we've done our research. We understand these myths and we understand like some of the nuance here. Like one of my favorite things was, okay, so you're playing as Zagreus, the son of Hades. And you were trying to get
Hades
to the
and Nyx? Question mark?
Right, which like they get that out of the way pretty quick. So like you're playing as Zagreus, and like I remember, like I was like, okay, so I had some Greek mythology classes, but I'm probably not as steeped into it as you two are. So I was like, well, who is Zagreus? Like, is Zagreus like an actual character from Greek mythology? So like day one, I just did a Google search for who is Zagreus. And I found a thing where it was like, I can't remember what the source was, but it wasn't like a video game site. It was like a mythology forum or something. And someone was saying that Zagreus kind of gets mixed up with Dionysus a lot. So it's like, oh, okay, so is he Dionysus? And then there's like a whole like conversation on that forum about like, well, this says that he is, but this says that he isn't. No one really knows kind of deal. And then in the game, Dionysus approaches Zagreus and is like, hey, Zag, wouldn't it be really funny if we started a rumor about how we're really the same god? And then you do that.
Orpheus is like, oh man, that's amazing. I'm going to tell everybody.
Right. And I love that they address that. Like that just shows that they give a shit about the game that they're making.
I love that Hermes. So whenever Hermes pops up, he has his, he's always in a hurry. His animation is him running.
With this, I bet.
He has his bag, and you see, I didn't notice it until I saw a still where somebody on Hades Deuce posting, which is one of my favorite groups I've ever been in on Facebook, where they have a little box where they show, has anybody noticed the turtle that is in Hermes' bag? Well, of course, in mythology, I forget the name of the turtle, that one of Hermes' worshippers wanted to travel, but didn't like leaving his house behind, and he asked Hermes to help him, so Hermes like, fuck yeah, bro, you're a turtle now. That fucking house is always on your back. Let's go.
This is how turtles work.
That's totally your house.
It's cool because there's so much attention to detail and all, like both of those things. It's like if you are a huge Greek mythology fan, like you're gonna pick those things out, and I'm so glad that they did the research that they did and made these decisions. And I know the game was in production for a pretty long time, and you can feel it in the game. You can feel their love in the game. And they just did a great job incorporating the roguelike with the story of the gods and all of that.
Yeah, for sure, because it's like, okay, so Zagreus, anytime he dies trying to escape Hades, he respawns in the Hall of Hades out of the pool of blood. And then later it's kind of like, oh, is Zagreus the god of blood? I was like, oh, that makes sense.
He bleeds red and all the other gods bleed ichor.
Right.
So.
And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of neat. That's cool. I like that. But it's like, yeah, because he is the son of Hades, he is immortal and he cannot leave Hades. So he just respawns back in the Hall of Hades.
He was born there. So if you're born there, you're from there, you can't leave. Because Hades can leave, correct? He went there, but he can leave for longer periods of time. Thanatos can leave.
Right. That's kind of part of his job.
But it makes him sick the longer he's gone.
Yeah.
So I guess if he stayed gone long enough, he would die like Zagreus does.
Yeah, I don't know. That's up to you guys. I don't know. I just played the game and had like a class in middle school. Greek mythology.
I always loved Greek mythology. And then when Melissa and I got together, the kids especially Brainy Jr., loved Percy Jackson. So I read all the Percy Jackson books to have something in common with them. And now Artsy AJ, she's read most of the books. Hades definitely rekindled my love for Greek mythology.
Sure, I get that.
So right now I've sat down with them and we've rolled up 5e D&D characters that I'm going to do a Percy Jackson game incorporating heavy Hades elements into it. Like, they won't meet Percy Jackson, but you bet your ass they're meeting Zagreus. So I'm looking forward to all of that and using more of the Hades style, which I as much as I do like the Percy Jackson books, some stuff is just kind of strange and problematic. I don't love Rick Riordan's interpretation of a lot of stuff. So Hades makes it way easier for me to roll with and enjoy it in a tabletop form. I think it's going to be fantastic. I forget what I was going to say about that. I had more, but then it went. So,
well, you were talking about how you like the way they handled the mythology in the game.
Because another thing that Percy Jackson does, that all of the gods, since they have ichor instead of blood, they don't have genetics. So there is no inbreeding or crossbreeding or anything like that because there are no genetics. So in Percy Jackson canon, they call them half-bloods, demigods, a mortal child of a god and a human is a half-blood or a demigod. But they could marry another demigod and have children without any problem because gods themselves, they don't have DNA that becomes corrupted like mortals as it passes on.
They try replacing it with frog DNA.
It finds a way. It finds a way. So I want to break down more of the... Okay, so Zagreus is trying to get out of Hades.
Right.
Or out of the underworld. I think at first it's like he just wants to spite his father and leave.
Yeah, he's got a pretty bad relationship with his dad. I'd say it's probably fair to say because they don't get along very well. Hades is very stern and not a very warm father figure to Zagreus, and Zagreus is kind of rebellious because of that.
And you can tell like something's different because of Zagreus's one green eye.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, then you eventually he finds out pretty early on. Nyx is not his mother. Persephone is, and he has to go see Persephone. So then it becomes...
On the surface.
Mm-hmm. So then it becomes like a fuck you dad tale to like, mom is up there and I have to find her.
Right.
And that's when I then became personally invested in like, I gotta get Zagreus out.
Yeah, and it's wild because it's like that the game is, and I love the story, but like the journey is definitely more important than the destination in this game, I feel like, because the gameplay is so good that that is, it's like, that's enough to keep me playing. And because what happens is you find Persephone and you're on the surface, and Zagreus finds out, oh, I can't live on the surface. I don't belong here.
Yeah, he gets the black down swirls, like, oh no.
Right, and then the Styx takes him.
Yep.
Yeah, and then he wakes back up in the Hall of Hades. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like every time you are making it to the surface, you get like a paragraph of story from Persephone.
Yep.
And then you got to do it all again. And it's like, if the gameplay weren't as good as it is, because it's excellent, the gameplay is excellent, but if it wasn't as good as it is, I think I'd be really annoyed by that. But I don't have an issue with it because it's like, yeah, this is a fun game.
Fun, and it makes sense to go. So Zagreus, you with a handful of the help of a handful of gods. There are plenty of gods I wish were in this but aren't. But going through Tartarus, Asphodel, and Elysium up to the Temple of Styx, out. And you have a different collection of heroic weapons from all over time and space. So let's start gods. So for all of us, who is your favorite god's boons to help you escape the underworld?
That is unfair. That is an unfair question. Oh, I mean,
who is your personal, what is the most fun for you? And then what is the most effective for you?
oof. Okay, so I love the fists, the gloves.
Yeah, that is my main as well.
That is my favorite. It feels like a beat 'em up to me, and you can go really fast. But I think for the gloves, I really like things like the zoo spoons with the electric. The electric, what am I thinking of? Oh my gosh, the lightning bolts that come down, because you can get things like, you can get modifiers on top of that boon. So you can get things like jolted, which, does even more damage. The dots are pretty good too for something like the gloves. You can get Dionysus's hangover. That can be pretty good too, because they stack. So, and then I'm sorry, people, they make fun of me all the time for this, but I love Demeter's cast, the ice beams.
Demeter's
Okay.
cast is the fucking
Demeter's
best.
cast is
If
awesome.
you pair it with the duo, I think it's with Artemis, where it makes them track faster. You
Yeah.
can just throw those down and call it a day. Those are really fun. But people are like, Demeter
I've beaten
sucks.
Hades with just that.
Yeah, I have too. I've beaten like I honestly think her like Demeter's cast, those freaking crystal lasers are like, those are boss killers.
Yeah,
like
totally.
I mean,
Especially put the boon where they also cause chill.
oh yeah,
And-
chill. I
yeah.
love the chill debuff. Like I love it when Hades is like has 9 stacks of chill on him, and it's like, I'm not going to hit you again because I don't want to lose these stacks,
Yep.
and you're super slow. So I'm going to do non-chill attacks
Yep.
until that wears off.
What's cool is that you can do, the build, there's not like a build that's going to make the game super easy. So some builds will be great for trash mobs. And then there will be some builds that are great for, bosses. And I think that's what's cool about the game is there's not like a build you can do every time. There's so many different variations that are good in so many different situations. And that's what's been really fun with the game for me is like, okay, what boons can I mix together to make something really spicy?
Yeah.
And maybe do something that's a little bit, unconventional you wouldn't think of. And that's what's been really cool. I guess Dionysus actually was not part of the first early access release. I believe
really?
they added Dionysus within early access, which I think was an amazing addition. One, because Dionysus' character is amazing, and I love him. He's super chill.
Yeah.
But the hangover dot is can be really good if you use it properly.
And I like what you brought up because we hadn't brought that up yet. Because I mean, essentially, this game is every time you play it, every time you do a run, it's slightly different because what you're doing is you're making decisions on the fly that kind of dictate how Zagreus is going to play on each run. So it's like you run into these gods and they offer you boons, and you have to choose from those boons, and they kind of augment Zagreus in different ways. And then not only that, you're choosing like one of 5 weapons, I can't remember exactly, but you're choosing from a set of weapons, and it's like that changes how Zagreus plays.
Yep.
Like Coco, you said that you like
the aspects
using
that the
fist.
weapons get eventually, that changes how you play.
Right. And so there's just layers and layers on top of layers that change how the game plays each time. And it's like, if you like a deck building kind of game, this is like, you might have a good time with this because you are essentially, every time you're going through, you're trying to configure and line up all these boons and aspects and weapons and weapon upgrades, the Daedalus hammers, like and keepsakes. Like there's so many different things that you can customize Zagreus with, and you're trying to go for, at least I do, I'm trying to go for that Hades killer build.
Yep. Because no matter how good I am, like something can just go a little bit wrong and I will lose to Hades. Even without any heat, sometimes I'll just have a bad collection or something doesn't make sense, or I'll just make the wrong choice somewhere and just fucking lose.
Bad
so
synergy.
It's always
Yeah, for sure.
And it's cool because not only do you have the weapons to choose from, but you can unlock different modifiers for each weapon. And what's really cool is the big modifier for the weapon. So they're called aspects, like you said, Dave. And the last one is always a a snippet of lore from other myths, other mythologies. So I think I'm getting into spoiler territory, I think, but one of them's like Gilgamesh.
We're good. We're good.
We're throwing it all out the
Okay.
window.
Yeah.
One's Gilgamesh. We have one for there's the sword. I think is Excalibur. It's the aspect of Arthur, and it's really cool how they kind of incorporated other types of mythology into this game in that way. So you can take an aspect from a different. I don't know, I guess a different culture, or I don't know what the right term is for that, but just a different myth that has been, known passed through the years, because there's so many different, there's Norse mythology, and even Greek. I know Greek and Roman are really similar, but there's even some differences there. So that's what's really cool.
Well, I love that they like even pull in like Paradise Lost, because it's like the railgun, for example. The last one is like aspect of Lucifer.
Oh, I love it.
And it's like when it reloads, it does like the angelic choir. Yeah, it's like, okay, this is awesome.
So they kind of played homage to like different things though. So that's what's cool about that. And then all of those aspects all differ with the hammer, because the hammer will change based on what aspect you have. So if you get a hammer drop, sometimes there will be like an aspect specific upgrade that you can get. And then the boons all act differently. So it's like this infinite amount of combinations of weapons, aspects, boons, keepsakes, that really change the way you play the game every single time. So it doesn't get stale.
Totally. No, it totally doesn't. And it's like, what's also important to mention is like, you don't make all these decisions at the same time. You make one decision at a time, essentially over the span of the whole game, the whole run, from Tartarus to the Temple of Styx. And that's kind of neat too, because it's like that is part of the loop. That makes me want to get to the next room. It makes me want to get to the next boon to see what I get and to see how I can fit that puzzle piece into my existing puzzle.
And we didn't even talk about the mirror, because the mirror changes your abilities and what you can do.
Yeah, the mirror in Zagreus' room.
And then especially toward the end when you can get the rerolls, which all look like D20s or D4s from D&D, so you can kind of change what you, hopefully if you're wanting this kind of build, or so you can, well, I don't like any of these boons that Hermes just gave me. Let's get new ones. Or you roll in like, God, another Ares room? No thanks. Let's see, what else can I do? Okay, go through. That added a whole new dimension to me. Right. So okay, the mirror, because let's now I brought it up, let's hit the mirror, because the mirror is in the roguelike. They're normally in roguelike games, there'll be some element that you can carry over run to run. The mirror is that element. So Nyx is helping you in mythology. Like Nyx is like one of the biggest, most powerful entities, period. She's the embodiment of night, the daughter of chaos. Like she's one of those progenitor gods. She gave birth to twin sons who are, Hypnos and Than, death and sleep, and the Furies and everything. So she lets you basically use her power, darkness. So you collect darkness throughout your runs, and you can go to the Mirror of Nyx and use that darkness as permanent upgrades to yourself that you will carry run to run. So you can get an additional dash. The biggest one for me was Death Defiance. So you come right back with a set amount of HP. However many times you can sink that darkness in to a max of like 3 times. Increase your percentage for boons being epic, because boons have not only do different gods give you different boons, the boons also have different rarity and levels that show how powerful they are. So the higher the rarity between regular something, epic, and heroic. And then legendary, every god has one legendary boon you can get. And then levels, I don't know what the capital level is. I've never gotten one above like 9 or 10. What else are the ones? You start out with more gold, you heal from darkness, or heal 3 points per room you go in, because the game is divided up into rooms. Every room is a different encounter. Beyond that, because that's your the first thing in the game is fucking upgrade that mirror. Get darkness, upgrade that mirror.
And that's how the game rewards you for dying, right? That's what keeps you going. Okay, because when you first play, you're like, this game is freaking hard. Like, I'm not gonna. How am I supposed to beat Meg? How am I supposed to beat Meg with what I have? And then you get the mirror, and you're like, well, wait. Okay, so let me put my darkness. Let me buy these upgrades. Oh, I didn't quite make enough. Let's do another run. Let's farm darkness and let's go back and get these upgrades. And then I know I can beat Nyx once I get that Death Defy or whatever it is, right? Yeah. And I think that's how the game does a really great job of rewarding you for dying. So it doesn't feel like a defeat, really. You're like, okay, now I can go back and throw all of my currency in whatever upgrades I want, right?
Right. You're progressing. Even if you die, there's a feeling of, well, I am getting better because I have some currency to now to spend to kind of leverage my ability a little bit.
So, yeah, every time you die, you lose whatever money you've acquired, obols, that you spend on with Charon.
Which really is not a big deal at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it really isn't.
It felt like it at first, but it's
at
really... At
first it does, but then, by the time, like, I don't know, 100 hours in and I'm in the Temple of Styx with like over 1,000 obols. It's like, oh, okay, whatever. I don't want to lose these. Obviously, I want to spend money. Yeah. I want to buy things with it. But I mean, it's also like, I don't know, you gain it pretty fast.
Yep. So then, but you keep darkness, which you use for the mirror. You keep gems, which you use gemstones to pay the contractor for story points, upgrades,
renovations,
cosmetic renovations. Let's see, then nectar. So also there are all these NPCs that then you can level up your relationship with.
This is also a romance simulator.
Yes.
Yes.
It is also like that is a big part of the game too.
Yeah, I got very much Persona vibes from the relationship aspect of the game. Being able to give people gifts and such. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in Persona again.
Which I like. Okay, I have a thing with like dating simulators, romance simulators. I enjoy them to a point, but I don't know. I feel weird about it because it's not because of the gameplay or anything, but I always feel like, man, this is like, even in Hades, I had this feeling where it's like, all right, I know there are two characters that I like can have romantic relationships with based on like all these little, like all the hearts essentially on their like ID cards or whatever.
Yep.
And it's like, man, but I want both of those. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, even though I don't know. It feels like it always in these games. It always feels like less a romance simulator and more like a manipulation simulator, where it's like, I'm just gonna give you nectar until you like me.
Let me shower you with gifts.
Right.
This is how humanity works, right?
Yeah,
totally, absolutely.
But with that being said, I really liked it in Hades. So.
And it was cool because it wasn't just like a, hey, we're going to give you nectar or ambrosia. You had to unlock certain parts of the story before you could progress your relationship with somebody. So I think, Nyx had one where you had to reunite her with Chaos before you could move forward in your relationship with her. And I thought that was cool because it gave more opportunities for the game to unlock more lore, give you more insight to these myths. And I thought it was just another driving force on you wanting to like go in there, do a run, die, and so hopefully you can unlock the new part. And it was cool how they worked in the contractor too, because you had to pay the contractor to unlock different parts of the house, to
the record
build
room open back up.
Yeah. Just everything about this game incorporating all the different mechanics, incorporating with each other to unlock more story. It's just really creative.
I'm really glad that you brought up the fact that, like, you're also, in this quote romance simulator unquote with, honestly, with like characters that you're not seeking a romantic relationship with. Like, I mean, and it is a way to drive the story and get some story points and some dialogue, and really just to get to know the NPCs better. Because I mean, you're not seeking a romantic relationship with Nyx, you know, you're not seeking a romantic relationship with Achilles. You're trying to reunite Achilles with his really good friend,
His roommate. Yeah.
I also like that they're not afraid to get out in front of that kind of stuff
Oh,
too.
yeah, finally.
Like at all. They're just like, yeah, these are two men. They have a romantic relationship
Yeah.
with one another. Get over it, kind of deal. It's like I like
Whenever
that.
Patroclus died, Achilles got really upset and killed half an army.
Right.
So yeah, as opposed to Troy, where it's like they treat him more like his he's more like a father figure. This is his nice little protege best friend here.
Right.
Like,
Well, I mean, even historians,
you.
you know, or kind of, you know, it's like
Yeah.
they dance around that issue where it's like, yeah, his good friend, and it's like,
Or even when you learned about it in school, I don't know. I learned about that story in school too. You know, yeah. And that's the thing with Greek mythology too that I think is appealing to a lot of people is that the gods are not infallible. And
For sure.
they have flaws and they are very human in that way. And I love how they kind of incorporate that into the game. You know, when you go through those, I forget exactly what they call, but it's like the challenge rooms where you get offered 2 boons and you have to choose one.
trial of the gods.
Yeah.
Trial of the gods, yes. And
the pettiness really comes out.
they get really petty. And even the dialogue between some of the gods and goddesses that don't really like each other, like they're back and forth, especially with when you get offered a duo and you see kind of their banter back and forth, which is another reason why you want to always experiment with different boons together, because you'll get offered a potential duo, which is 2 gods in 1 boon, which are mostly very powerful.
Yes. Sea Storm for the win.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sea Storm's really good.
Yes. So
Ahoy, nephew.
Poseidon is best uncle, let me tell you.
Yeah, I love Poseidon. Literally, this is the first time I beat Hades, the god Hades. I had Poseidon as a greater call which is like a summon essentially. You can call down a god to aid you. And I had Poseidon, and I literally prayed to Poseidon because, like, I had like maybe 1 hit left, you know, on me, or I was gonna die. And it was like, Poseidon, please help me kill your brother, please.
I love going in to fight Hades with the Hades trinket that lets you go invisible. So when you're fighting Hades and go, Father, what? You do it, then one charges up, do it again. Father, shut up!
I used his trinket once and was like, I don't like this.
It's not my favorite.
If you use the trinkets, like for the Meg trinket, for example, and you use it while you're fighting her, she's like, "What are you doing?"
Because that's an achievement on Steam. Is the use a god's call whenever you are fighting that god in like a trial. Because like if you have Artemis and you're fighting Artemis, or she's coming after you while you try to clear the room, try to use her summon. She's like, "Oh, what? Now you need me?" No.
That's funny. I've never tried that because it's like the greater calls are like a thing that I typically forget about until I'm in a boss fight. And the earlier you asked our favorite gods and boons and all that. And because you mentioned Artemis, I love Artemis, and I love Artemis because like I love my favorite weapon. I flip flop constantly on weapons because it's like what happens is I'll get in a groove with a weapon, and then I always go for the weapon that has the dark thirst on it.
Yep.
So it's like I want to go with the weapon that's going to gain me the most darkness. So because of that, I'm constantly changing weapons, but I found that I love the bow. I hated the bow at first. But with the Chiron aspect, it's like once it's like maxed out, it's your special. When you hit an enemy with the bow, with an arrow, and then you use the special after that, you can do like 8 homing arrows rapidly on that enemy. And you can do it like 3 times. So like when I play the game, I try to just like do what I can with the trash mobs and focus everything on slicing through bosses like butter because I hate the boss fights. Like they're just so stressful. So it's like I love Artemis for that because it's like you're firing, I don't know, eight seeking arrows 3 times in a row. So it's like, okay, if you start doing the math on that, it's like, well, if I get an Artemis, like a passive boon, that's going to give a critical chance, even 2% on each of those arrows. It's like, that's going to start adding up.
Yep. Especially then if you get the Relentless Volley Daedalus Hammer that adds 4 more arrows to it.
God, yes.
And then get the Hermes attack special speed, and you're just blah.
Yeah,
And
I love
add
it.
Artemis support fire where she fires an extra arrow
That
every
extra
time.
arrow,
Oh, yes,
yep.
it's over.
Yep. I love it. Although it is fun to like Aphrodite, I love Aphrodite's Greater Call because it's essentially like she just comes in and deals like 2,500 points of damage to somebody. And it's so much fun to do that to Theseus. I hate Theseus so much. He's such a heel. And it's like, I love
the Ric Flair of Hades.
Oh my God.
But it is so much fun to like, because Theseus will do this thing where it's like he will call on the gods for help, and it's so much fun to like once he does that, just summon Aphrodite to come in and just execute his ass.
Just wreck him.
At first, when I first got there, what I would always do was I'd kite Asterius around and then just try to dodge the spear throws. And I mean, it worked okay. It takes forever.
Sure.
But then eventually, okay, so I'm a very defensive player in almost any game. And if I'm playing Magic the Gathering, I've got walls and counter spells. Like if I'm playing Fallout, I've got all damage reduction, super high hit points. Like I'm a defensive player. Not in Hades. This is the game I play differently. I play it as wildly, crazily, sloppily, offensively as I can. So that's why I go with the fists. Normally, depending on if I'm doing Extreme Measures 4 or not. Because if I'm doing Extreme Measures 4 where Hades is cranked all the way up, like that is a rough
That's
fight.
rough with the gloves. Yeah. Because you have to get close and he's fast.
And he'll just pivot and it's like 100 points of damage. It's ridiculous.
I have a hard time with the Hades fight regardless, which is another reason I like the bow, because it's like I can just stay away from him and his long ass spear.
Yep.
It's like if I see him coming close, it's like dash 3 times in the opposite direction and just constantly stay away from him.
Because the bow with the aspect of Charon, and then you throw a bunch of Poseidon on that too, because Poseidon has all the boons that help you against bosses.
Right.
So then, just probably the quickest I ever beat Hades was with that aspect with Artemis and Poseidon boons, just melting his face off with that special.
And you mentioned Extreme Measures, which we totally need to talk about, because like once you get through the game gives you the option to keep playing, but making it harder through punishment packs.
Which, I didn't know. I had not yet beaten the game when I popped into one of your streams, Coco, when you're playing Hades. And right as soon as I popped in, you were leaving the House of Hades into Tartarus, and you had the Pact of Punishment up. I was like, what the hell is she doing? What am I doing wrong? What is this?
Yeah, another part of the game that just gives you more content. It's amazing to me how much this game gives you for the price that it is. And I don't think I've heard one person say anything bad about it. Because everybody has their opinions, right? Gamers especially. We're the worst. You know, we always have something to say about something. And I have yet to hear anybody say anything bad about the game, you know? Personally, I think this game should have been Game of the Year, but...
It was, yeah, for sure. And I personally, I know it was my personal one, which was like a real tough call for a minute there between it and Animal Crossing, because like when Animal Crossing came out, like it came out at just the right time, and it was like, this is comfort food, the game, and that is absolutely what I need right now.
Yep.
And am I going to spend 400 hours on it? Yep, I am. I'm going to do that in the course of 2 months. You bet.
This and Tiger King,
Yep.
we're in isolation. Yeah, perfect.
Bring it on. Yeah.
Yeah, it was probably a toss-up between Hades and Ori for me. But the thing with Ori was that it was a beautiful game, but it just wasn't... I 100%ed it pretty quickly. There just wasn't a lot there. And the game was beautiful, and I still give, 10 out of 10 game, but it's something about Hades that just kept wanting me to come back and do more runs and try different things. And even now, with how many hours I have put into it, I'm still unlocking new dialogue. I don't remember. It was like over 2,000 lines of dialogue for this game. I think it's even more now. I feel like that was maybe an early access number or something. But it's very rare when you see repeat dialogue in the game.
Yeah, there's definitely an attention to detail in this game that is like that really, like, it's great to begin with, but I mean, it's just that amount of polish on top of it that's like, you can really tell that they care about the game.
Yeah. I mean, Charon has 50 unique things of dialogue.
You mean Undead Clint Eastwood?
Yeah. And then Persephone has like 40.
Yeah.
So,
And she
murderer.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And the only disappointing thing is I know Supergiant, they aren't like a DLC company. They don't do DLC. They don't release, like, once their game's done, it's done. So it would be really cool to have more content for this game. I don't think we're going to get it, but I guess we can hope. Maybe because this one did so well, maybe they'll consider it, but
there's a spot for one more weapon,
Yeah. Or even, it would be cool to battle your way up to Olympus, but I don't know how that would work with the story. But, like something like that would be really cool. Maybe introduce another god, or, because there's...
Give me a Festus. Give me,
Apollo,
Yes.
So, it can be hopeful, but I don't know if they're going to.
I'm good with it. I love the game as it is.
Yeah.
I'm kind of one of those people who's
I want more
I hope they
Hades."
take the success of this game and like make another really good game off of the back of it. Like, I don't know. I just kind of want to, like, I love Hades, but I feel like I can just keep going back to Hades over and over and over again, regardless. And it's another thing about the game is like, I can put this game down for weeks and then come back to it and then just pick it right back up. I like that too. Like it's one of those games that I feel like I'm going to have on rotation, where it's just every now and then I'm going to be like, yeah, I feel like playing Hades for like a week or something and just kind of mess around with it and have fun with it again. And then just because I'm done with all the story stuff, just put it back and then put it back on the shelf. And then every now and then just come and revisit it.
Because I think my favorite, granted, like I do the same thing you do with the Dark Thirst, like whatever weapon. So I've been having to play with all of them. I've come around to the bow just because of that one aspect. Otherwise, like if I get the bow and I don't.
I hear you.
I need the one that where also the hammer that makes you fire very rapidly. There's no charge to it.
Right.
That means, okay, I've got that early on. This is a fun time.
Yeah.
If I don't have that, I'm not having
a bad
this
time.
nearly as good a time as I would have.
Man, if you get the Daedalus hammer like as the first thing, like you walk out of the gates of Hades and it's like, oh, sweet, Daedalus hammer. This is going to be a good run.
Yep. But my favorite runs that I try not to do too much of because I don't want it to get stale for me, but usually just plain Fist of Zagreus maxed out so I have 15% dodge. And then I will lean heavily into Artemis boons, Poseidon boons, and Hermes boons.
Yeah.
Hermes has my favorite boons in the game. But I feel like he functions a little bit differently than the rest of the gods. You don't see him quite as often. He's always more
Asphodel all the time.
Yep.
It seems like.
Yeah. You might see him in Tartarus at the last Charon's shop. Which if I can get his side hustle one there. Get that at the very last room.
that's
Like that's
nice.
pretty good.
Money per
Yep.
room.
Yeah. And then, because if I get him early on, get maybe a 20% greater evasion. My favorite is the lambent plume, his trinket. So every time you clear a room quickly, you get, once it's maxed out, 2% dodge.
And then you get rush delivery. If you can get rush delivery after all of that,
Yep.
where it's like you're dealing bonus damage based on how much bonus speed you have,
Yep.
chef's kiss. I mean, I love that.
yeah, exactly. So if I do a heavy evasion build with Poseidon and Artemis, and I just roll into every room like the Tasmanian devil, or with the aspect of Gilgamesh, and because normally if I'm running Zagreus, I will turn the mirror down to where you get one dash, but the dash has like a 50% dodge bonus when you're dodging out of the way.
And the Gilgamesh gloves give you a bonus dash anyway.
Yep.
So you're kind of compensating a little bit there.
Because
I'm with you.
Gilgamesh, you can just totally just dash all around, stack up all the other evasion. That's how the first time I beat Extreme Measures, that's what I did. I didn't have to use one Death Defiance because he just could not hit me. And then crank up all the Poseidon boons for bosses. Artemis, crank up all the critical and the assist shot. That is peak. Oh, this is a top 10. This is a top 10.
We are totally nerding out on this game. Anybody who's never played the game is going to listen to this and say, like, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah, what is going on? Yeah. Well, I recommend that person to remedy the situation and pick up the game.
Yep.
It's worth it.
What's everyone's favorite character? I love hearing this because everybody has something different.
Favorite non-Olympian god, or are we talking about the whole thing?
I know you kind of have to break it up, right? It's hard.
Because as far as the gods go, I love every time Dionysus shows up.
Right?
I'm like, there's my boy. Here he comes. There's Dionysus, and it's like, let's fucking talk to Dionysus and see what he's got to say.
I love that edit that I saw on Reddit where like somebody walks up, oh, look at a Dionysus boon. And as soon as you click on it, hey, Zag, nice cock, man. It's so perfectly done.
Yeah, I love Dionysus as far as the Olympians go. I also really like Hermes because I mean he's like,
Should I shut up? Just tell me if I shut up. Am I talking too much?
micro machine man, and I love that.
Has anybody ever told him to stop talking?
No, I know.
When he
I
gives you
haven't.
that option?
I have
Have you?
no, I didn't. I was
No,
like,
I
no,
haven't.
like, chat away, my friend. I mean,
Yeah,
the voice acting is so incredible in the game. You know, there are some games where you like skip through the dialogue because it's just too much. But in this one, it's like you don't want to because you want to hear their voices. They just do such an amazing, amazing job really portraying the characters.
Absolutely.
And the voices are so, like Meg's voice, oh my gosh, so unique.
Coco, who is your favorite character?
That's so hard because it changes all the time. Like I
Boldy, isn't it?
love Uncle Poseidon. Like he's the best dad, you know?
Yeah, Poseidon is really good.
He's a better
I
dad
do
than
like
Zeus.
Boldy. I know that was a joke, but every time I see Sisyphus, I'm like, you bet I'm gonna give
Here's a nectar.
Boldy a nectar, and I'm gonna talk to Boldy.
Even if I get that one weird boon that he gives you that's like 2% mysteriousness. Okay,
Well,
that's fine.
it changes. Have you
changes,
noticed
yeah.
that? Yeah. The ambiguous bonus, I think, gives you nothing.
Yeah.
But it's tough. I really like Artemis, you know. She's like no nonsense, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd have to say those as far as Olympians go. Non-Olympians, I love Nyx because I feel like if
love
I were to
Nyx,
be
yeah.
a god, a goddess, I would be Nyx. You know, my emo goth self, you know, my inner goth being is like,
that fits.
oh my gosh, I want to be the knight.
I think I might like Chaos the most, though.
I love chaos.
Chaos is cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they included chaos.
Me too. And I love how different chaos is. And it's like, I remember the first time I went through a chaos gate because I was like, first of all, I was like, what is this manhole? And like, what is with an eye on it? Like, what is this?
Enter son of Hades.
Right. And it's like, I go in and it's like the portrait of chaos is just like, oh my God, this is like Freddy Krueger's back. Like, what is going on here?
Why are half my hit points gone?
Right. So it's all like very, honestly, that might have been like the scariest moment for me in the game. Because I was like, am I going to have to fight chaos? Because I had no idea where this is going. And
because you're like, I don't want to upset chaos. You know, you feel that.
Right, exactly. And the way that chaos talks to you, like they talk to you like, and like, it's like, you know, they'll go through this whole long thing and then it's be like, respond.
It's good to see you, son of Hades. Respond now.
Right.
I remember the first time I went down there and saw a fishing point, and I was like,
yes.
Why is there a fishing point?
I know.
Even Zagreus is like, is that seriously a fishing point?
10 out of 10 game when there's fishing in the game.
Hell
yeah, it's
yes.
always a good sign, isn't it?
And that's because, God, I remember right after I got the rod, like the next run that I had, the very first boon was Poseidon's legendary one. As soon as I said about Tartarus, that's what I got. And there was like a fishing point in every room, and it was amazing.
Yeah, but that was, I don't think I've ever picked that one up or been offered it.
I mean, there are still legendaries I haven't found yet, you know, and
Yeah,
I
same.
have probably over 100 hours in the game, and there are things duos I haven't found yet. There's all sorts of things that I haven't unlocked.
That's one thing I did really early on, so I wanted to finish the list of minor prophecies. So like I looked up all the prerequisites for what duos. I cranked up all the legendary, like a 10% bonus chance for legendaries and duos, and I farmed that hard to get all of them. Athena's, even then I think I've only gotten Athena's twice, and that's amazing. You constantly have. Whenever you like dash and deflect, you have the shield that floats around you.
Right.
You have that constantly.
Oh, wow.
And it negates any one hit and then refreshes in like 5 to 6 seconds.
Yeah,
Wow.
So
I've
you're
seen that
basically
once.
negating. Oh, man.
Only
That's
once.
awesome. Athena was a god who like I leaned on heavily when I first started playing the game.
Yep.
And then it's like, it became a point where it was just like, I'm going to choose someone else. You know what I mean? Because like you get used to it and you know how like little tricks to like bypass enemies and stuff like that, where it becomes deflection becomes much less necessary.
Yep. Until you
Deflect
get to the
dash
satyrs.
was the way to go in my first few runs. I was like, I have to get Athena.
Yeah, the dash for sure. And yet, Tyler, you mentioned like the satyrs in the Temple of Styx, and
I
it's-
love deflecting
my
their loogies
gosh,
back at them.
Yeah. Yeah, all the poison and the like. What
That's
kills?
the only thing in the game that I think is maybe a little broken is the poison up in Styx from the rats and the satyrs, because like you could be having a perfect run and man, Styx will just wreck you
Yeah.
hard.
What kills me about Styx is more often than not, it's the panic. Because what'll happen is I'll enter a room and what I have to do is remind myself, you've just entered a room in the Temple of Styx. First thing you do, identify where the fountains are that will cure poison.
And the Mandragora hot tubs, where are they?
Right. And when I forget that, it's like I'll get poisoned and I will panic. And then like in the panic of trying to find the pool, I'll lose like half of my life.
Yep. Because I was hoping, because that's where I started always getting sure footing, because I read sure footing, you won't get poisoned from the rats.
Which is an Athena boon.
That turned out to be a lie. So
Yeah.
you still definitely, but sure footing is still a very good boon to
It's
get.
okay. You did it for science. You did the experiment for science.
Have you guys run into, I think he's called the Vermin King?
Oh, the tiny vermin.
There's the tiny
yeah,
vermin, and then there's the big one.
See, I've like got 120 hours in this. I've never seen this mob before. And I've
Oh,
heard,
really?
yeah, but I've heard about it like on our Discord.
Yeah, there's a small vermin that's like
Because the tiny vermin will have the whole big cutscene like a boss, and it zooms in on it, and it screams. It has its own big health bar that goes across the screen.
No, I've never seen it.
oh my, and you're like, what is? Like, I panicked. I was like, what is this?
I bet.
And it's like super OP. You know, has a ton of health.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm fighting this tiny rat. You know, in this small room.
You kill it, it explodes, which is a cute little animation. You see it rear back on its hind legs and just pops like a zit. I felt like you really, if you run into Tiny Vermin, hope you're having a Zeus run. Because if you have, it's a duo between Zeus and Demeter that makes your jolt effects don't end if you hit them again.
Oh, wow.
So they stay paralyzed. So if you have that and then all the lightning boons, you hit Tiny Vermin, he stays paralyzed, and then he summons tons of giant rats. Well, it spreads to them, and they all stay paralyzed, and you just mow through them. I'm trying to think, because I turned Blake onto this game, and he actually got through it way quicker than I did until he got to Styx. And that's just, he's like, man, I love this game, but man, I hate this part so much.
Well, like, I don't know, because Styx, you get to Styx, I get it. I get, like, Styx can be rough, but it's like, the part of the game that was like that for me was the boss fight we were talking about earlier with Asterius, the Minotaur, and Theseus. Because it's like, that one was like a wall for me for the longest time. Like, I would get a run to them, and then it's like, this is where the run ends. And it's like, I remember the first time I got through that boss fight and I got to the Temple of Styx and then died immediately. It's because I had like one death defiance.
Yep.
I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know poison mechanics or anything. So it was just like, take a step in, die.
Right. Oh, a Charon shop. Why is this all so expensive?
Right. And then I remember like, because like you investigate like in the Temple of Styx and seeing like Cerberus there. And it's like, oh God, do I have to fight the
Don't
best
make me
boy?
fight him!
He's
Right.
the best doggo. Best doggo. I think I maxed out my relationship with Cerberus first.
Oh, there's not a moment. There's not a single time that I respawned in the House of Hades and didn't pet Cerberus unless he wasn't there for whatever
Right.
reason.
I think it takes like once you hit in a relationship wise, you'll hit a locked heart, and that's the condition. Like Coco, you said like you have to reunite Nyx and Chaos to kind of get past that for her. You have to fix up the lounge to get past that with Dusa. You have to alter the contract with Achilles, so to get through with, so he can go back to Patroclus, then you fix theirs. And then for
Orpheus
Who were you
too.
talking
Orpheus and Eurydice.
Orpheus and Eurydice,
yeah.
you have to bring back that.
You have to nullify Sisyphus's
Contract. I think, but for Cerberus, you have to pet him like 50 times, and you break his. And I remember watching. I read a big response from Small Giant because a lot of people emailed them wanting to be able to pet more heads because you can only pet the one head.
Yeah,
and they explained like, we get it, and we looked into it, but the programming and the art, everything that would be required to pet all three heads, even if it's at different given runs, is incredibly complicated. So please bear with us. It's just the one head.
There's a line
the other
of-
two don't like it.
there's a line of dialogue about it where
Yeah.
like Zagreus says something about like the other two heads always being jealous or something. It feels like that might have been like a consolation.
Yeah.
for that.
There was a line too that I got saying like, "Oh, if I pet your other heads, you'll bite my arm off," or something like. You're the only one that'll
Right,
accept my
right.
my
At least I can
love.
pet this one head.
I just love how they incorporated Cerberus and everything. Like he could have been a super side character, but then they incorporated how the relationship of Cerberus and Persephone and how, how Persephone really missed Cerberus. And then when you bring her back down to the underworld, you get your family portrait and like Cerberus is in the portrait with you.
Because that's how Hades and Persephone don't even know how to address each other. So how's Cerberus? He's good.
Let's find some common ground over the dog.
Right.
Then that's why it gave me a heart attack in extreme measures whenever I'm fighting Hades. All of a sudden, he disappears, everything goes black, and fucking Cerberus runs across the screen, just wiping out everything in front of him, and I have to dodge down to the bottom.
I was screaming during that because I'm like, is he helping me or is he helping Hades? Who's he helping?
I also love that they essentially made him Clifford, the big red dog. Like
Yeah.
that's a really good call.
Overall, they did a great job making like some of the minor characters, really giving them life and personality, and even Dusa and some of the other characters that you don't see like out in your runs. They just do a great job of giving them life, even though you only interact with them when you're in the house. And like I fell in love with Dusa right away.
There's a great.
So, Dusa, what was your body like? Oh, Zach, that's a really personal question.
I love there's a meme. Like what is it? Hold Dusa tightly like a hamburger. And it's just an image of like hands holding Dusa like you would hold a hamburger.
She's very happy.
Yeah. I love that. Like every time I see her, like that meme is so powerful that every time I see her, I think of it. It's like I want to hold Dusa like a hamburger.
The voice actress that does Dusa and Aphrodite is a streamer on Twitch, and she does.
Oh, really?
She does Hades runs, like super spicy speed running Hades. She's really good at it, but she's based out of LA. She's an actress and a comedian. And she plays on Twitch all the time. And it's really cool to see her play it because you can sort of like hear in her voice a little bit of like,
Sure.
and so it's really cool to watch her. But I thought it was really awesome to see people who, were paid VAs for the game, like really enjoy the game that they did work for,
Yeah, that is really
Because they
neat.
could easily say, "Oh, I spent however many hours doing lines for this game. Like, I don't want to see or hear this game ever again." But I guess it's just a testament to how impactful the game is.
Yeah, for sure. And also like just Supergiant as a developer too, because like I know it's a game that you can play and feel good about because it's like, they're very open about how it's like, yep, there was no crunch for this game. Like, everyone who worked on this game, was treated with fairness and respect. And it's like, that's not a thing that you hear a lot about video game development.
And it's so open culturally because there's no whitewashing it here because, they're very open to. Of course, there's still, bisexuality, homosexuality, polyamory, to have the gods be different races that make sense. And it's not like we have the whitewashed Jesus with blue eyes, brown hair, alabaster skin, and a six-pack. It's they diversify everything. Like Athena is black. Hermes is like South Asian. Like I didn't even I'm just playing the game. I didn't realize it till I'm in Hades Dusa posting and people talk about how wonderful the group is because the fans of the game, the super fans of the game, are all like good people who are open to all that. That's
good,
why that group is
horny
so
people.
Good horny people. Horny transcends all barriers.
Yeah, I do have to say that I was like questioning myself a little bit throughout this game because I'm like, how can I love these characters so much and why are they so attractive to me?
Yeah, they're all attractive. They are all attractive, and it's wild.
See, it has the best memes because I love the one meme where it's like it shows a sketch of all the hot characters. Like, so which character do you ship? Who do you love? And it shows the PC going over to Skelly. And it's like, why the skeleton? I made everyone else horny and sexy, and you're going after the skeleton.
He's got a good sense of humor.
It just the charisma, like Dionysus, for example. Like you gotta love him.
Yeah, no, I mean Dionysus is, and I love the voice acting for Dionysus because he kind of reminds me of like the professor from Gilligan's Island, but like if he had too much to drink, and it's like, all right, get behind this.
Let's see. I love the theory that when you're fighting Theseus and Asterius, Zagreus has one fan shade in that whole big Colosseum.
The good shade.
No matter what, I always dash over to him and get the smile and that's for you, good shade.
All right.
So the theory being that is Zagreus's grandfather.
I don't know.
So what they explained was that Demeter.
So the Titan.
Demeter had Persephone with a random farmer. That random farmer died, went to Elysium. That's his grandfather.
Okay.
So that's why he's the one fan of Zagreus. He figures out like, oh man, that's my grandson. So he's got Zagreus' colors on, and the audience always cheering for him.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. I just figured it was a shade who like really likes money. I get a lot of obols when this guy wins because like the odds weirdly are never in his favor. It seems.
I get tired of just seeing Theseus and Asterius just sort of fight each other sort of nonchalantly.
I do like that was essentially Theseus and Asterius's like arc. Their story arc was like
where you're kind of breaking them up a little bit,
but you're not. You know what I mean? It's like it's just Theseus working against himself.
Yeah.
You know, that's what
are
I
you
love
fighting
about
him
it.
privately?
Right.
Well, I mean,
right, because he's a mini boss. Asterius is a mini boss.
I love how they portrayed Theseus as being just like this insufferable douchebag, basically.
Yeah, he's the worst.
But it's really funny because in Greek mythology, he was so loved by the gods. They all loved him, and it was just a really funny character choice that the devs made, and it just makes me giggle every time because I'm like, every time I reach these, I'm like, you are the worst.
Yeah, and it's a great pairing because it's like Asterius is very like honorable and like the strong and silent, and Theseus is like counter to like those three things. And it's like because of that they're just odd couple, where it's like it just I don't know, it just works.
Because I'd read about, I forget what happened with Theseus where he was glued. Was it glued? Something he was glued to a rock, and in order to get up, it like this is gonna sound super weird and crazy, but I read this somewhere. So that he was somehow like attached to a rock after he fought Asterius or at some point in his tale, and in order to get up, it ripped off his ass. So that you can see in the art, in the fight, that he does not have an ass. Or that when he turns around, like whenever he's summoning the gods, like it just looks like black. I remember reading something about it. I should have went back and re-researched.
Please send me this. I need to read up about this.
But
I actually did a lot of studying in college because I studied chemistry when I was in college, but I was like, I would love to get a minor, like a classics minor where I learn all about like Greek and Roman mythology, not for anything other than I just want to do it. And of course, I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I ran out of money, so I won't be doing that. But I did take a couple classes, and so I've read a lot of different versions of a lot of the myths or like the poems, like the Odyssey or the Iliad. Like I've read different translations and things like that, and so I feel like I don't want to say I'm like gatekeepy because that's not the right word, but I just have been looking for some sort of entertainment that really captures my attention when it comes to like Greek mythology. And this was totally it. And now I feel like nothing can live up to it.
Oh yeah. How do they redo Greek mythology after this?
Right. No, I think it's great because it's like they're taking mythology and they're playing with it instead of, and look, I hate the sound. I understand. I'm going to say this. I'm going to sound curmudgeonly and old, and it's going to be ugly, and I'm sorry. I am tired about learning bullshit lore in video games that I don't care about. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you didn't love reading all the books in Skyrim? Learn about,
no, I didn't. And it's like I get that people do like that, and it's like that's great. Please love that. But it was nice for me because it was like I kind of have there's Greek mythology is like a touchstone kind of, and it's like I kind of know what's going on here. It's nice to see like creativity within that playground, instead of it's like. I don't know. It just feels more important to me for some reason, as opposed to something that, someone who is being forced to work 80-hour days to get a game out. It's like, I don't know. What do we say about the fucking dragon thing? I don't know. It's nice to just be like, well, okay, they're just being creative within this constraint.
What's our creation myth? I don't know. You've got 2 hours. You better program it.
Did you check the wiki? I don't know.
Have you seen Blood of Zeus on Netflix?
No.
So it's okay. So here's my problem with it's because I'm so I have Hades ingrained in my head now, and so when I was watching, it's an anime on Netflix. The first season, I think they're doing a second season. I'm not sure, but the first season is out, and it's, I don't know, 8 episodes, and it's they portray all the Greek gods. But I'm like, no, this is not how Hades would talk, or this is not how Zeus would talk. This is not how, and I'm just, I had like such an expectation. It's a good show. Don't get me wrong. It's a really good show and the story was really good. But yeah, I was very much like, nope, that is not what Aphrodite would look like. That is not what Athena would look like,
Right. I know that feeling. Totally because I had never seen Disney's Hercules.
Oh.
And I played Hades and I was like, I want some more like Greek mythology media. And so I've got Disney Plus. Let's check it out.
James Woods is Hades. This sounds great.
And I started it and like 10 minutes in, I was like, nope, turn it off.
But speaking of just the appearance of Aphrodite is naked in this game. She's the only character who's naked. But apparently, from what I read, all the characters were originally envisioned, everyone was naked. But I guess they started to dial that back, but it still makes sense for Aphrodite to be naked. That's fine. We'll give you that one. Everybody else has normal Roman clothes on.
It's the art for this game is incredible. Whoever did the designs for the art was just right on point.
Yeah, and it's super important too. And I love like the actual like art for the gameplay, like in the segments where you're actually playing through the game. Like there's so much detail in that, and like there's such good use of shadow. Like everything has like this really like blocked out inky kind of drawing style to it, and it like reminds me of, I love Mike Mignola, the creator of Hellboy, and like all of those like comics where it's just like there's so much detail, but also there's just such stark contrast between black and then color. And I feel like that's what the art style, at least in the gameplay segments, reminded me of. Because there's a little bit of a disconnect between like the art style of all the characters, which is fine. I think it all meshes well together. And then there's also like sometimes it is weird to me to when I realize that, oh, the characters in the game, like Zagreus himself that you're playing as, is 3D modeled. And it's just like, I think it's just heavily cell shaded. That it's a weird moment where I realize, oh, he's 3D. Because everything else seems very drawn and illustrated,
The only bit of animation I thought it was strange and didn't sort of jive is the explosion when you kill a boss. Like when you kill Lerny, which I still love how he's the Lernian Hydra until you have one line of dialogue. You know what? I'm never going to call you Lerny.
Right. So good.
Then he becomes Lerny the Hydra.
Right. And I love all the Lerny Sanders memes and all that too.
But just the weird pixelated explosion is the only thing that I've noticed. Like, for something with so much polish, the explosion when you kill Lerny is a little odd.
See, I'm surprised because I noticed that too, but I just thought it was a Switch thing because I'm playing this on Switch, so I just figured it was like, well, I'm playing this in handheld mode. It's kind of like low res, whatever. I didn't realize
it's the exact same way on the PC.
So,
yeah,
interesting. But yeah, generally, I think the art direction of this game is fantastic, and it's like, I know we talked about the voice acting, the music in this game is fire. This music is so
Korb
good.
Is amazing.
It's so good, and it's like all the atmospheric tracks, and it's like it's wild because it's like they even like pay homage to Diablo because like if you listen to the Asphodel track where it's just that doom doom doom, it's like this percussion thing. Go back and listen to Caves from Diablo 1, and it's like this is absolutely where inspiration is being pulled, which is great because it's like that's kind of like the root of this game. There are a lot of similarities,
The Barge of Death, the music on the Barge of Death is absolutely reminds me of like the fields in Bastion. As soon as you get on, like it had huge Bastion
for sure,
vibes to me,
yeah,
I love it.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't realize it at the time, but it's like, and then like, so it's all these atmospheric tracks, instrumental, but then you get these vocal tracks too that are just like they're amazing and they're so powerful because it's like you're trying to, reunite Orpheus and Eurydice, and it's like eventually that happens, and then like you're treated to this duo of singing, and it's like, oh my God, this is like, not only does this sound good, but it has like narrative power to it.
When they're singing the duo version of like In the Blood,
Yeah.
Whenever
oh my gosh.
Whenever Persephone's like, okay, let's go. And whenever that plays as the credits roll, to Charon taking you through every layer of the underworld back, it's like,
it's emotional.
God, it's so good.
Emotional. Yeah, it's really, really good.
That song, even when you meet up with Eurydice in the game during your runs, and if they're together, it's like I just sit there. I just kind of sit there for a minute and listen if they're singing together.
Yeah, for sure. And I love her character design as well. I know we were talking about character design, but hers is really, really good. Because she's got the tree bun in her hair, and like it's
she's
amazing.
Colorful, and she matches everything in Asphodel. Like
it's great.
And she has the best buffs. She says the best.
Yeah. What do you choose from her most of the time? Whenever you go through and get a boon from Eurydice?
Usually the one that improves your future boons that you get, higher rarity. I usually do that.
That's not what I started with, but then like talking on Discord, I was like, oh yeah, mathematically, that's probably the best one. But what I like to do was improve, I guess, the level of rarity for like 2 existing ones that you had.
That's why if I love what I've got already, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
And then if I'm still like I'm still iffy on this build, then I'll go the one where your rarity goes up. The levels, I kind of ignore levels until I get that one. Is it Aphrodite and Dionysus that makes all the palms of power count double? Like you get 2 levels instead of 1.
I do not have
Then
that
I'll
unlocked
focus on
yet.
the
I need to
palms.
know about this right away.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not familiar with that one either.
Yeah. Because I love the one. There's one where all the boons you get are all epic, period. The ones, once you get this duo, for the rest of the game, they're all epic. That one's great, or the one where palms are worth double.
I like the Demeter one, the Demeter boon, where it's like, I think it's called like something crop.
Rare crop.
If you get that early on in the game, it resets all your all the rarities of all the boons you have to mundane. They're just common, and then
because if you get the epic version, it picks 3 boons and resets them, and then every four encounters it goes up to the next level.
The rarity, and it's like that pays off crazy if you get it early. Because I remember going into a Hades fight with just like a bunch of boons that are just.
I've got 3 heroic boons,
and I never get it early enough ever. Whenever it pops for me, it's never early enough. I'm like, oh, what a waste!
So like sticks,
right? You're buying it from Charon and sticks.
Because I love one thing I didn't realize. So my last thing, trying to get all the Daedalus hammers. The last one I had was Cluster Bomb for the rail.
That's a good one. I like that one.
And I didn't realize this. I did I bet 10 runs with the rail with the Aspect of Lucifer because I was really good with that. I was like, God, why can I not get this aspect? And then when I finally looked it up, it's like, oh, it doesn't pop in the Aspect of Lucifer. Wonderful. So I went back to the one that when you cock it like a shotgun, your next shot does
more damage.
Yeah. So now if I get the rail, forget Lucifer. I roll with that one and then aim to get the triple bomb and the cluster bomb. So then I'm just doing this huge rocket spread.
Yeah.
That is just like, man, the shield enemies in Elysium, I hate those dudes. But man, you get that and just dash behind them and just wreck them all day long.
If we're talking about enemies that we hate, the butterfly balls.
Hate the butterflies. Hate them.
Or the giant boss butterfly ball.
Oh man, I hate the butterfly balls.
The shield, they're fairly easy. I mean, they're annoying when you're in a big trash mob and you're dealing with other stuff and you have butterflies all around you. But those shield guys, I think they changed them from early access to when they released 1.0 because they were never that tough in early access. And now they not only are they shielded, but they do that like spin attack. And I don't feel like they didn't do that.
Yeah, all around them. Yeah. And then a big spread in one direction, like that goes 3 different directions. Yeah, I hate the shield guys.
Yeah, and those will hit you from off screen too. That's like the immortals that that use the bow. That's the one that always gets me because it's like arrows are just start coming from off screen. And it's like, what is happening?
Yeah. I'm sitting there trading blows with the shield guy. Just
Right.
Shoot, shoot, shoot.
Yeah, there's
shoot,
3 of them at a
shoot.
time. Yeah.
I would say Elysium is probably the toughest area to get through.
Elysium is tough. Yeah.
And the little, oh my
Elysium.
gosh, the meowing chariots, the little mini ones that meow.
Flame wheel.
And I'm like, oh my God, it's just, I don't know. Everything about them are just terrible. And if you have the bow or the gun, it's perfect. But if you have a melee.
When you roll fists.
Yeah. That's when I dash like crazy and hope that I have a good boon attached to my dash.
Hope you get that item that they just don't spawn.
Yeah, there's that too. Also, like, I don't know what those big amber looking giant eggs that are bombs in Elysium. I don't know what those are, but I utilize those things a lot.
I love once you max out the relationship with Patroclus and get he and Achilles reunited. That before when you meet him, he's depressed. He's sitting on the ground. He's leaned over. But when you unlock it, his character art changes to be the mirror reflection of Achilles. And I love that little touch that now he's finally happy. He's standing up. He's got his badge. He's got his spear.
Right.
Like, he's himself again.
Totally. The first time I met Patroclus, Nikki was watching me play, and I was like, look, they put Jesus in the game. Because they don't tell you his name at the beginning. And I had no idea.
Like, he's in heaven. I guess that makes sense.
I had
All
no
right.
idea who he was. I was like, that great warrior Jesus?
He was known for flipping tables and stuff. Yeah, he's a great warrior.
Yeah.
Although, unless I've had a terrible run and I need to get my death defiances recovered, like I always, that Cyclops jerky,
the
it's
damage.
like 60% attack for 10 rooms. Good.
Yeah.
Especially if you have Charon's trinket that makes those
Last
even longer.
Yeah.
That can like go almost all the way to Hades if you get it late enough in Elysium.
I'm not going to lie to you. Every time I get to Patroclus and have to choose an item, I at least have one Death Defiance gone. So it's like, yep, I'm going to go ahead and refill that.
That's why it's nice to grab Athena boons later sometimes, because she has those. She has the ones where if you have a Death Defiance, you'll be impervious longer, and then it replenishes one. So sometimes it's nice,
right, yeah.
if you're like really desperate, you can grab her trinket going into, the Hades area, which isn't ideal. But if you like really need Death Defiance, like that's not a bad strat. So
stacking damage reductions are also pretty fun. Like if I get a different league really high and can have time to level it up, and stack that with bronze skin.
And also Dionysus, like the hangover, like putting that on top of it. It's really nice too.
Yeah. Weakness, from Aphrodite, so they hit for less. And then the Myrmidon Bracer, so it's a 30% reduction head on. And then I'll have where I can just... Hades is still hitting me like 20 points, which is still a lot better than what he would normally do.
Yeah, totally. The problem I have with runs like that is I get super frustrated when I am not dealing damage quickly. Like that's how I like to play the game. I want to deal damage to bosses as fast as possible. So I don't know, like runs where like even like the dodge runs, they aren't as bad because I use Lambent Plume a lot on there, and it's like if I have rush delivery, it's like we're good to go. But like I don't know, any of the damage reduction ones I have a real hard time with because it just feels like, oh my god, this is taking forever.
Yeah, if I generally get a greater call in a regular room, I know I've taken way too long.
Yeah, right. That always happens to me in Elysium, it seems. It was when the greater call pops in a regular room.
Because sometimes like there'll be a few rooms where it's like the Lambent Plume meter is gone halfway through. And it's like, how the hell was I supposed to clear this room in that amount of time?
Dude, and speaking of like Elysium and all that, because like normally it pops for me in those big rooms in Elysium that have like the traps that fire those like purple glowing darts.
Yeah.
That reminded me, it's like I love the item in the game where you can like the traps deal like 500% more damage or whatever to enemies, and then it's like all of a sudden it just changes the strategy. It's like just lure the enemies into traps.
Or in sticks, whenever you have like the deflecting punch and punch the razor blades into satyrs.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh, damn. I'm trying to think how else do I want to gush about this game?
There's so much. I'm realizing how much there is to this game. I mean,
Because we haven't talked about, because you have, once you're done with nectars, you get ambrosias. Ambrosias max out relationships. You get the special trinkets for special summons. They're little cute stuffed animals, and then you can only use them once per level unless you pour ambrosia into them. You get diamonds, and diamonds are used to unlock special contract jobs.
Or you can buy songs with them.
Songs, yeah.
Yep.
Titan blood is what's used to level up your
Weapon aspects. Mm-hmm. You go through those fast.
Yep.
I remember when I'm fulfilling one of the prophecies, and I think I got 8 Titan's blood or something. And I was like, I am rich, and then they were all gone.
In 2 upgrades.
Right. Yep.
Right.
And then you get chthonic keys. Keys are used to upgrade the mirror. Once those are maxed out, you can use keys to basically like a trading game to eventually get ambrosia or Titan's blood, starting with darkness, moving upward through the different levels.
You can also pick them up during a run to gain 1 additional reroll.
Yep.
I never do it though, but
the only time starting off, I'll use usually all my rerolls to try to get the build that I want.
Uh-huh.
And then if I have any left, I usually don't use them again until Styx. And then I'll reroll to try and get all boons.
Yeah.
All boons and maybe obols if there's something I want in the shop.
I also go through my rerolls real fast. Usually they'll be gone by the time I get to Asphodel, pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah.
My favorite, one of my other favorite audio memes, so they're so popular, is
Whole Theseus ass is like a hamburger.
the one where it's from Parks and Rec, only it's Megara instead of April introducing her 2 boyfriends. This is my boyfriend Zagreus and Zagreus' boyfriend Than.
Uh-huh. I love Than. Yeah, Than. Yeah,
Than
I love
is so
Than.
emo.
I think Than is
I love
great.
it. I think it's cool how they have this brotherly relationship between Hypnos and Than. They love each other but hate each other.
Yeah. Than getting on to Hypnos, and Hypnos just struggling to.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, just struggling to exist essentially, and function in the House of Hades, which I think is really nice because it's there's levity there, and Dusa brings that too because it's just this isn't all doom and gloom. We have some characters here who obviously do not fit here, and there here's a couple of them.
So the only part I was ever frustrated with Nyx is whenever she told Dusa she couldn't talk to you anymore. That's the whole big dialogue. Right. You're better than her. You can't.
Yeah,
do that.
That was really super surprising to me.
And then she gets mad at you whenever Ares is trying to talk to her, and Zagreus is like, Ares, really? He's kind of. Get off my nuts, Zagreus. The gods don't talk to us very much.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember watching Predator, in the chopper scene, when they're flying in to all the mercenaries on the helicopter flying in. If they would have just panned the camera over to the right just a little bit more, you'd seen Ares there. He was on that helicopter.
I love Ares' character portrait. I love his design.
Yeah.
Because now when someone says Ares, I think of that. Before it's Ares, I think of Hercules, The Incredible Journey Ares that has the curly black mullet, studded leather armor, and one earring.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one, I think, for anybody to do anything Greek mythology related. I think this really set the bar high, really high. And now I feel like I'm going to be comparing things to this, which is a good and bad thing. More a good thing. But, it's anybody who has not played this game, absolutely. Because I have a lot of people who say, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like it because it's not really the type of game I like. Not a big fan of rogues. Don't like the isometric vibe. And then they try it and they said, I take back everything I said. This is I think, like you said, a game that can appeal to anybody.
It's also really accessible. It doesn't feel like it is because it can be very difficult, but you can turn on God mode. It's just an option.
Yep.
You just go into options, turn on God mode, and it's the way that works, I think, is that each run, regardless of what happens, you get stronger. Like I never used it because I like the challenge, but like totally there. And I love that it's just an option that you can turn on. It's like it's just a thing that you can do if you want to just enjoy the
story, the journey. Yeah.
And yeah,
I
totally.
do think that the game does a great job of balancing difficulty. I mean, at first it's very, very tough, but with your upgrades and such, I think it does a great job balancing to the point where you can progress pretty easily.
Totally. And I do think that they do a really good job of like I don't know what the programming looks like, but it does totally have a feeling of like I remember the first time I beat Hades, I remember feeling like, oh, like I've died a certain number of times, and then it's programmed into the game to be like, okay, give him the good shit. Because it totally clicked. I got like the Daedalus hammer upgrade on the sword, where it's like every time you hit something, you gain 2 health, and it's like, yep, I'm gonna win this one. Because I remember getting like to Hades and being like, oh, this fight's really hard, but oh well, every time I hit you, I'm gaining health.
Yeah.
So as long as I can kite you.
I remember the first time like I got to him, beat him, knocked him down. I was like, hell yeah, man. That was.
I know.
And then he just stands back up. It's like, oh my God.
And he does the wrestling thing where he like throws his cloak off.
How many cloaks do you have, Father?
Right.
And then when you go into his room and check it, I
He
knew
has
it.
it's all cloaks.
Such a good game. Great writing. Excellent writing. Excellent art direction. Fantastic sound. Great gameplay. This is like it's a 10.
Yeah.
It's a 10.
This is a top 10. I think it and Rogue Legacy occupy the same top 10 slot for me.
You like Rogue Legacy that
period.
much, huh?
Oh my God, I love Rogue Legacy. I mean, I like this. I probably do like Hades more than I like Rogue
I think
Legacy.
Hades is a much more robust package because you get a lot with it. Rogue Legacy does one thing very, very, very well,
Yeah.
I feel like.
I just can't have them both on my top 10. So it's just like I got my
Sure
roguelike
you
spot.
can.
It's both of them.
Sure you
I
can,
think
man.
the appeal to Hades too is the fact that there's so much story to it. Whereas you look at a game like Dead Cells, there's a little bit of lore there, but you're doing the runs to do the runs, not because you want to see what happens. You know?
Totally. And also, Tyler, I'll tell you that there was not a single character in Rogue Legacy that I wanted to have sex with. So there's also that.
Not the female Hokage? Okay.
I mean,
well,
Rogue Legacy
sorry.
does pull ahead by calling, they have a Sir Taco. So that already it gives it like 3 extra points in my book. So
That's a good point.
I'm excited for 2 to be fully released.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so ready. I want it to be done so I can sit down. Because now that I am pretty much done with Hades, I still kind of want to go back and finish getting all the achievements. I only have to get getting the 16 heat trophy. That's it, and then I'll be done. And bad call, because it doesn't count doing it with Hades. I think it's only like
What is it? Bad call?
Bad call is whenever you like use Artemis's greater call against Artemis.
Oh, okay.
Because I went through and watched a video of all the dialogues.
Yeah.
I haven't done it myself. So those are the only 2 achievements I need to get. But I got overwhelmed. I love decorating the House of Hades. I love it with the gemstones.
I didn't even bother.
It's too much.
Yeah.
You don't get, like, I will go and get double chaos boons for, increase how many gems you get. I will get all the Poseidon's boons for it.
Uh-huh.
And it's just,
It's
there's
a
too
lot.
much. Like, you would have to do like 60 hours of just farming the gems to get
Wow.
to decorate the house. And it's just like, I love this game, and that was my goal, but I'm not going to get there.
I like that they included it, but it kind of got to a point where it was like, I don't know. I guess I just decided, I was like, well, I'm going to focus on, getting Titan blood and like trading to the broker as much as I can to like max out all the aspects. And it was just kind of like, I don't know. I kind of segment things like that. Or it's like, first I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do this.
Speaking of the broker, I love the little employee of the day board.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's up. It's
Yeah.
in the different portraits.
Yeah.
When finally, after you get all through Hypnos' dialogue, Hypnos will finally appear. We mentioned in another episode how whenever you kill Megara, she sinks down like Zagreus does. But if you Tisiphone or Electo explode into butterflies because they're not allowed into the house,
Right.
Like Megara
Like
is.
Meg is. Yeah.
So many details.
Yep, and I love how the little touch about, we've mentioned this on the show before too, but like when Zagreus dies after reaching the surface, when the Styx takes him, he makes the V, the victory pose. I love that. There's a lot of great art in this game. Like, I mean, even in the UI, and it's like when Zagreus like defeats a boss and you get like the gold Zagreus at the top doing like the victory, like the fist pump and the finger up. And it's like, yeah, this is fantastic. Even like the little, like when you die and it's like the drawing of the skeleton, like hugging the tombstone kind of thing. And it's like, there's just a whole bunch of like nice touches like that where they all kind of feel like, which is going to sound weird, but they all kind of feel like this American traditionalist like tattoo kind of thing because they're all like very symbolic, you know, and I think it's really cool.
Well, anybody have any final thoughts?
If you haven't played the game, play the game. You won't be disappointed.
Yep, it's
I
worth it.
promise. It's 100% worth every dollar you spend, whether it's on sale or not.
Yep. Support the developer.
Yeah.
Buy
Play
it.
the
It's
damn
good.
Yeah,
game.
support the developer so they make more incredible games like this, please.
Yep. Yes.
Zagreus just wants to get out of the underworld just to help him. And this game, we're going freeform, you know, so this game has achievements. We don't need to do any. Zeus's beards and glasses, King of the Gods. Sure, that'll work. And next week we're doing Final Fantasy After Years again, so there's no...
We'll wrap that up.
Yeah, no summoning the randomizer.
Yep. Coco, thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me. When Tyler reached out, I was like, yeah, absolutely. And last time I was so nervous. I was a little nervous today, but I was like very nervous last time. And I felt like I was myself, but I was like a very reserved. Like this time I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm prepared. So I appreciate you having me. I had a good time. And I will talk about Hades all day. So this was perfect. I love talking about how amazing this game is. So yeah, thank you.
It's easy to do, and I do feel like this podcast could probably be 6 more hours if we
really sat down, like, all right, let's pull up the game, let's play it in real time, and we're just going to talk about it.
If we had no respect for the listeners' time, we could absolutely do that.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. You can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, almost all of our backlog is up on YouTube.
It's all on there.
Amazingly, it's all up there now. Holy
Backlog
shit.
Banisher Dane has banished the backlog.
So-
it is banished.
So like 590 plus episodes all up on YouTube.
Everything's on YouTube. Yep, all the episodes are on YouTube. And they're going to continue to be published there.
Damn. And then Spotify, that's up there too.
Yep.
It's a lot more limited, but the most recent stuff will be on Spotify and then iTunes. And if you're like, let's get some of that like old shit where the audio wasn't as good. That's what I want to hear. Yeah, go to YouTube. That's where it is.
Or you could listen to new ones there now too. I mean, it's just
whichever you want.
I mean, if you really want to listen to it on Facebook, you can do that, I guess.
Yeah.
we provide that service. That I don't blame people for not taking us up on that one because I can't imagine a world where it's like, man, I want to listen to a 2-hour podcast. I know where I'm going to do it. I'm going to sit on this Facebook page for 2 hours.
And not click back or go off screen at all because it'll all go away.
I'll just open up a new tab. I'll open up a new Facebook tab. I'll do stuff there.
Let's see. You can catch us on Twitter and Instagram, Tadpog_podcast. If you want to send us things, like we're collecting all our packages to have a new big video of us tasting all the spicy things that are being sent. You can send that to Tadpog Studios, care of Nicole Nance, P.O. Box 3785. Paducah, Kentucky 42002. You can call us, leave us a voicemail. We're going to do a Patreon all calls sometime soon. We just need to kind of rehire our very special,
very expensive
call screening service to 270-883-2555. You want to buy a shirt, shirts.tadpog.com, or a mask, mask.tadpog.com. But I guess
Patreon.
most importantly, got that Patreon.
Patreon.com/Tadpog. If you enjoyed this and you want to help us succeed, throw us a couple bucks. You can do it there. We appreciate it very much. It goes a long way.
My internet isn't quite working.
I've got it pulled up.
Okay.
I want to thank, very special thanks to my very own cousin, David Galino.
Oh, Cousin David.
Cousin David, thanks for coming through, upping his donation considerably. Thank you very, very much. Also, thank you for the Xbox One that I've been playing Cyber Shadow on recently. That's also a pretty cool game. You should check it out. And I'd like to give a shout out to our executive producers on this episode. These are people who donate $20 a month or more. $20 or more a month, not 20 months. They give us 20 months of their lives. It's insane. We really appreciate it.
Almost a year.
It's like almost a year. This episode was executive produced by Usurper Grimm, God Emperor Alex Pena, Cthusiast Jeff Miners, Cousin David Galino, Coronavirus Savior Cubicle Monkey, Zeus Laser, Steve Dixon, Clambro, Cody Phillips, Lint Liquor, Joseph Phillips, Bantha Master, The Eightfold Daniel Abernathy, Plinko Nick Price, Time Lord Josh Edwards, Executive Producer Dig Dougie, Matt Gentile, a.k.a. Gentle G, Magical Sleeper, a.k.a. Big Dicked Pie Baker Chris Vaughn, Laud Mulaney Dennis, Pinball Archmage Chris Edler, congratulations on your marriage, and I'm sorry you couldn't be on this episode. Sandwich Pope Phil Hawkins, Drinksmith Joey Webster, Big Daddy Paul Anderson, Master Cycle Baron Kevin Link, and Captain Detective Count Victor von Cunnilingus Hart.
Hell yes.
Thanks, guys.
And please check out Coco on everything she's under. I'll have everything in the show notes that I will find for her Twitter, her Twitch stream, everything. Please support Coco.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Before we sign off, can I just say one thing?
Please.
I was warned beforehand that and asked if it would be okay if this got spicy, but it didn't get spicy at all.
Yeah.
I don't know why you were both so worried.
It's because I'm behaving. I was actually, because I told Tyler, when Tyler reached out to you, I was like, man, you gotta make sure she knows exactly what she's getting into, because like this has been a pretty clean one for us.
Well, we love the game so much.
I've heard some of the stuff that goes down on here.
I was like, dude, you gotta like make sure we cannot destroy Coco's brand. You gotta make sure she's on board with us talking about all the shit that we normally talk about.
Well, you both behaved yourself, and I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting, but I have heard, some of your podcasts, it can get pretty spicy.
It'll get more blue when we don't give a shit about the game and there's nothing else to talk about but to go down that path.
Do you like this game? Not very much. Let's talk about cum for 40 minutes.
This one we had plenty of content to talk about, so we didn't digress too much.
It's true.
But thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I really enjoy hanging out with you guys, and it's always a good time. And thanks for thinking of me. There are so many people you could ask to be on your show, so this is an honor. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Our theme song is Moves by Sycamore Drive. Look at that track from the show notes at tadpog.com. Coco, how do you think we should close the episode out?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. That's a lot of pressure. I don't know.
As your favorite Hades character?
I'm good with that. And this is just a prediction. I just predict 3 boisterous Poseidons.
Not quite. So until next time.
Tropical Capricorn.
Boy.
Oh, Hades. You're a Hades man.
I think he's the most complicated character.
I think I need to do like, hey man, tropical Capricorn.
Nice dick, tropical Capricorn.
I was gonna do Artemis, but I don't know. I don't know how to do Artemis.
Yeah.
I was like thinking,
Artemis
how am I
is
supposed
a
to do
tough one
Artemis?
to do for
I was
sure.
hunting with
Dionysus
Callisto,
is
tropical
easier.
Capricorn.